Patrick, a police officer, arrived at a gas station in response to a call about a suspicious woman. Initially, he didn't see anything unusual, but as a trained officer, he approached the scene with caution, analyzing his surroundings. The woman's behavior was strange. She seemed anxious, frequently checking her fuel tank and moving restlessly. Patrick's instincts told him something was off. While dealing with two teenagers causing a disturbance at the station, Patrick kept an eye on the woman, noting her odd behavior. She was driving a sporty Audi, and her unease was apparent. After handling the teenagers, Patrick reported the situation to the gas station attendant and kept observing the woman. As she finished refueling, Patrick noticed her pressing the trunk of her car repeatedly, even though it seemed securely closed. This raised his suspicion further. Patrick knew he needed to check the car, but he waited until she paid. To his surprise, instead of going to the store to pay, the woman suddenly got into her car and sped off without paying for the gas. Shocked by this unexpected turn, Patrick quickly decided to follow her, keeping close behind but not using his sirens, as the situation didn't yet seem serious enough to warrant that. As Patrick followed the woman, his mind raced with questions. What was she hiding, and why did she flee? He kept a safe distance, analyzing her driving behavior. The woman seemed desperate, weaving through traffic as if trying to shake him off. Patrick knew he needed to be cautious. A high-speed chase could put others in danger. He carefully monitored her movements, waiting for the right moment to pull her over. The woman's erratic driving took them onto quieter streets. Patrick decided it was time to make his move. He activated his sirens briefly, signaling her to stop. Surprisingly, she complied, pulling over to the side of the road. Patrick parked behind her, heart pounding as he prepared to approach the vehicle. He knew this could be a critical moment. Any wrong move could escalate the situation. As he approached the car, Patrick noticed the woman's hands gripping the steering wheel tightly, her knuckles white. He instructed her to roll down the window, which she did, albeit hesitantly. Patrick could see the fear in her eyes. He spoke calmly, asking for her driver's license and registration. The woman fumbled with her purse, finally handing over the documents with trembling hands. Patrick glanced at the documents, noting that everything seemed in order. However, his attention was drawn to the back seat, where a blanket was draped over something large. His instincts told him that whatever was under that blanket was the reason for her strange behavior. Patrick's pulse quickened as he asked the woman to step out of the car. She hesitated but eventually complied, her eyes darting nervously towards the back seat. Patrick maintained his calm demeanor, but his mind was racing as he moved towards the back seat. He needed to know what was under that blanket. With the woman now standing beside the car, visibly shaken, Patrick carefully pulled back the blanket, revealing a sight that made his blood run cold. Several bags filled with what appeared to be stolen goods, electronics, jewelry, and even a small safe. The items were hastily packed, as if gathered in a rush. Patrick turned to the woman, whose face was now pale and drawn. "Where did you get all this?" he asked, keeping his voice steady. The woman didn't respond immediately, her eyes fixed on the ground. It was clear she was struggling to come up with an explanation, but Patrick knew there was no excuse that could justify what he had just found. This was clearly the haul from a series of burglaries. Realizing the gravity of the situation, Patrick quickly radioed for backup, explaining the discovery. His colleagues would need to take over the investigation and properly catalog the evidence. The woman, now handcuffed and placed under arrest, finally broke down, admitting that she had been involved in a string of home robberies across the city. She had been on her way to dispose of the goods when she stopped at the gas station. Patrick's mind was reeling from the sudden turn of events. What had started as a routine call had quickly escalated into a major bust. He was relieved that the situation hadn't turned violent, but he couldn't shake the feeling that this was just the tip of the iceberg. There was likely more to this story, and the investigation was far from over. As backup arrived, the scene was quickly secured. Patrick handed over the woman to his fellow officers, who began processing her arrest. The stolen goods were carefully removed from the car and cataloged as evidence. Patrick took a moment to process everything that had happened. His instincts had been right from the beginning, but he couldn't help but wonder what might have happened if he hadn't been so vigilant. The woman, now sitting in the back of a police car, seemed to have accepted her fate. She offered no resistance as the officers prepared to transport her to the station. Patrick knew that her confession would be crucial in connecting her to the burglaries, and that it would likely lead to the recovery of even more stolen property. Before the police car drove away, Patrick decided to have one last conversation with the woman. He approached the vehicle and asked her why she had chosen to go down this path. The woman, still shaken, looked up at him with a mix of regret and fear. She explained that she had fallen into financial trouble and had been coerced by a group of criminals to participate in the thefts. They had promised her a cut of the profits in exchange for her help, but she had quickly realized she was in over her head. Patrick listened carefully, knowing that this information could be valuable to the ongoing investigation. He assured the woman that cooperating with the police might help her situation, but it was clear she had a long road ahead. As the police car drove off, Patrick felt a mixture of relief and sadness. This case was a stark reminder of how easily someone's life could spiral out of control, leading them to make desperate choices. And with the woman in custody and the stolen goods secured, Patrick returned to his patrol car, reflecting on the day's events. It had started as a routine call, something he might have dismissed if he hadn't been paying close attention. But his training and instincts had guided him through, leading to the resolution of a significant case. As he drove back to the station, Patrick couldn't help but think about the woman's story. It was a common tale: someone caught in a difficult situation, making poor choices under pressure. While it didn't excuse her actions, it reminded Patrick of the importance of understanding the human element behind every case. People made mistakes, sometimes out of desperation, and it was part of his job to navigate the fine line between enforcing the law and showing compassion. Back at the station, Patrick filed his report, detailing the sequence of events and the evidence collected. His colleagues commended him for his diligence and quick thinking, recognizing that his actions had likely prevented further crimes. The stolen goods would be returned to their rightful owners, and the woman's involvement would lead to the arrest of others in the criminal ring she had mentioned. As the day came to a close, Patrick felt a sense of fulfillment. He had done his duty, not just by apprehending a criminal, but by potentially helping someone find a way out of a destructive path. It wasn't always the glamorous side of police work that made the job worthwhile. Sometimes it was these quiet victories, where doing the right thing made all the difference. Patrick knew that tomorrow would bring new challenges, but for now he was content with the knowledge that he had made a positive impact even in the face of difficult circumstances.